The comments I made about CM Punk,
Mhm.
I had more responses from highly successful people in the wrestling industry, both behind the scenes and in the ring, that I would have never imagined would have reached out and said, "Hey, man, glad you said what you said. Somebody needed to."
You brought up the business and how you approach the business because you were a media professional who came into professional wrestling, and you've operated in and out of it throughout your career in your time where a lot of wrestling fans connect you with WCW, WWE, TNA, and the things you're doing now. And you're talking about this on Strictly Business, your series with ad-free shows. You've been talking a lot about media rights and the way certain names have been utilized in wrestling. And you got some controversy recently with CM Punk, and he's been name dropping you, and you've been critical of AEW. How do you feel the backlash with that has been? We've talked about people who maybe take the things you say probably a little bit too seriously, but you're just analyzing it. How did you deal with that, and how do you observe it now, kind of on the back end of it?
Look, it's funny because the comments I made about CM Punk, I had more responses from highly successful people in the wrestling industry, both behind the scenes and in the ring, that I would have never imagined would have reached out and said, "Hey, man, glad you said what you said. Somebody needed to." From I guess my peers, the response has been 80% in favor of some of the things I said. Now, when you get to the wrestling dirt sheet universe, that's much different.
Yeah,
that's much different because I think there's a certain tribal mentality in AEW as there is in WWE. Don't get me wrong here.
Yeah.
Fan passion is fan passion, whether it's wrestling, AEW, WWE, or NASCAR, baseball, whatever. It doesn't matter. Those reactions are a little bit different, but even in that universe of responses, shocking how many of them were really supportive. Now, there were some nasty ones in there too, right?
Sure.
But that's kind of like why I like throwing those grenades out there, because I like to see what kind of collateral damage, it creates, and how entertaining and interesting it is to watch all the pieces fall, once the grenade blows up. It's kind of fun, because people are crazy, and sometimes so crazy that it's entertaining. So if I'm sitting in an airport, I'm bored, I got nothing to do, I've answered all my emails, and I want to see some crazy crap, I'll just go watch, Twitter responses to me dropping a bomb on something AEW did. It's fun. People are crazy.
Love it. Media rights are coming up here, and you've been a part of those discussions. You've been in those rooms, in those boardrooms when a deal is made, and you're trying to make a deal. WWE is up for a deal soon with two different media partners. They had their two biggest media deals of all time. There's all these different things happening off screen that people think will influence that. And AEW is also up for a TV contract coming up sometime soon within the next year and a half, 2 years. How do you see those deals falling down? Because a couple of years ago, you and I spoke when you were at C2E2 about how OTT streaming rights were the future. And now we see WWE obviously doing that $1 billion deal with NBC Universal for the network.
Told you.
How's this going to play out?
That's called prescient. It's my favorite word, prescient. You can use it in a sentence so easily. It's just you see into the future. That's what I do. It's what I've always done. I've lived most of my life ahead of my own time. It's a burden. It's a burden, I'm telling you. Kidding aside, who knows? First of all, when you say their media rights are up soon, 2 years is like forever.
Sure.
In the entertainment industry, so much can happen, obviously. I mean, just look at what's happened in the last 6 months. That could potentially affect media rights and all that. So I have no prediction. I think that, and part of the reason I don't have any prediction is I'm not in the business day to day anymore. I don't know what the current market conditions are, particularly with regard to content and licensing fees. I just don't. So for me to have an opinion would be like Dave Meltzer. It's like talking about crap you don't know nothing about. I could make myself sound really smart. I really could, because I've been in the industry long enough to wrap up an opinion with a bunch of buzzwords and facts, and people would go, "Wow, I can't believe Eric Bischoff is brilliant."
But that's why I ask you.
It would really just be BS. is what it would be. So I have no prediction. WWE, I think, in fairness, I think the expectations of what WWE was going to bring to Fox back in 2019, because I was there and I was tangentially really a part of it at the very tail end. I think they were pretty disappointed originally, but if you look at, it's 2 million people, 2 million plus viewers a week in the 0.45 demo, 18 to 49 consistently. Consistently number one on the number one network for 18 to 49 year olds. I believe that's true. Don't quote me. Go ahead and quote me, but at least admit I say I'm not exactly 100% sure. So I think it's doing pretty well. I don't know. I believe from an ad sales perspective, doing very, very well. And that's a market that they've cultivated. They, meaning WWE, has cultivated for 20 or 30 years. So they're enjoying the fruits of that. But I think one of the things that you have to look at beyond just ratings and even demos as a part of ratings is, what does the WWE bring to Fox that no other content provider can? Because networks, I've sold them shows, non-wrestling shows. I've pitched some of the biggest networks in the world. I've sat across the table from network presidents, okay, and almost not all, but most of the major networks and cable outlets at one time or another. And over the last 10 years, the first thing they think of when they're looking at content is, what can we do with social media? How can social media, how can these things fit together?
Through the roof with WWE. Through the roof.
That's it. Yeah. That's the point. And, other dirt sheet universe analysts who try to pretend to know a lot about what they're talking about with respect to the business of the television business. I won't name any names here because they're not mean people. They're just delusional. And they lack experience and knowledge, which is basically ignorance. That's how you define ignorance: lack of experience and or information, right? But look at what WWE brings to the table that almost no other television producer studio could. What, about 28 million people in their database as a part of the WWE online presence around the world?
Engagement.
Are you kidding me?
That's tremendous engagement across the board. You have a fan base that's invested. They're invested. I mean, even if they don't love the show that one week, they want to know what's going to happen this week, the next week, and the week after. And you have a show that doesn't seasonally end. It's 52 weeks a year of almost fresh content.
And WWE has an audience, so digitally has an audience that they can promote to drive people to a network. Come on now. That's a lot of value beyond ratings. And just for people that aren't going, what is he talking about? Just imagine this: you own a network, and you're looking at television shows, none of which really have any social media or internet presence at all. And you love those shows, but they have nothing really to offer you, and you're going to take a risk with one of those shows. Big risk, by the way.
It's a gamble.
Or WWE comes to the table, and they're really, really expensive. But they've got 25 million people coming with them that already love their product. You're going to pay for that, Mr. Network. And that's why I think WWE's in great shape, because while the ratings have been, in my opinion, I could be wrong. In my opinion, I think initially, Fox was disappointed, but over the last couple of years, they're still number one on Friday night's network, which is different than being number one on cable on a given night. It's kind of a big damn deal. And in addition, they've got that massive loyal audience that they get to bring to the negotiation table with them. That's powerful. As far as AEW goes, I don't know. You know, I when I watch their show and I can't watch it, it just doesn't do anything for me. That doesn't mean it's bad. That just means for me, because I'm old and I'm out of touch and I don't get it. I don't know anything about TV anymore. This coming from a dirt sheet writer.
We need a count. We have Vince Russo on the network. We have a count of when he says bro. We need a count of dirt sheet.
Dirt sheet universe people, dirt sheet universe fans, and dirt sheet writers. They all have these strong opinions. None of them have spent a minute in the television business.
You're joining us this week on Eric Bischoff versus the internet.
Yeah. But no, AEW. I don't know. Here's It's just like the show last night, bloody as hell, right? Now I don't dig that. It's just not my thing. Never has been. Never, ever since I got into the business in '87 did I think blood was like, oh, cool. It's kind of weird to me, to be honest with you. But at that level. But my only thought is, how do advertisers feel about that? Now, I know how they felt about it 10 years ago when I was last in the television business. Less than that. When I was last in the wrestling and television business and working with a major network, Viacom, on a regular daily basis. That was part of my job responsibility. I know how advertisers, therefore the network, felt about blood then. And so if somebody can convince me over the next 8 years, all that's changed and advertisers don't care anymore, then obviously my perspective is dated. I don't think that's the case. I think from an advertising point of view, AEW, my guess, I don't know, and I hope I'm wrong, but my guess is AEW is probably not, they may be doing okay, relatively speaking, with their 900,000 viewer average, and a network may be excited about the number, but the number doesn't matter if advertisers don't want to be there. And I think the AEW super indie with a trust fund approach is not necessarily doing any favors for the people that are trying to sell ads inside of that product.
Observations that I know people will take seriously, and you're always approaching it objectively and honestly. I always appreciate that, Eric. The book, get it. Pre-order it now. Grateful. You can get it at bischoffbook.com. 83 weeks, every single week. Great podcast looking back at individual events. You can get it ad-free at adfreeshows.com or get it wherever your podcasts are available. He'll be a part of StarCast coming up that last weekend in July in Nashville at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Get everything with that at starcast.com. Eric, thank you so much for the time. Always appreciate talking to you. I'll try and...
Hey, one more quick thing, because I know I did all the talking.
That's all right.
If you pre-order the book Grateful at bischoffbook.com, it's going to be autographed by myself and Guy Evans. And one thing I forgot to talk about, something that's never been done in a book like this before. I don't think it's ever been done ever in any book, actually. But there's going to be a QR code at the end of every chapter. And you'll be able to take that QR code. It'll take you right to an interview with somebody who is a principal or involved in the chapter that you just read, so that you can get their perspective.
That's wild, man.
Kind of cool.
I love that. That's such a clever idea. Now, these little blocky QR codes now have changed all of our lives. It just gives us access to all.
You'll get exclusive interviews that you will not be able to find anywhere else. Only if you order the book.
That's fantastic. Now I'm excited to get this wealth of content.
What did I tell you when I started this thing? I've lived most of my life ahead of my own time. This is just one other example. BischoffBook.com. Get it. See you, Sarcast 5. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for the time, Eric. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.